Hello and welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Live. As they say in show business, the show must go on. With no Millwall this weekend, it could be a little bit slim pickings for us tonight, but we're going to do our best to keep you all entertained over the next hour and a half or so. Tonight, I'm joined by, firstly, the newest member of the Millwall podcast panel, Jay. Jay, how are you?
Not too bad. A bit of a slow week, chaps, but we'll make do as usual. How are you boys? All right?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And we're joined by our very own Jon Snow. For anyone who's not a Game of Thrones fan, that reference is going to be lost on you. But our northern correspondent for the North, Ben. Ben, how are you, my friend?
Fellas, you all right? For the eagle-eyed of the watchers, listeners, they would have seen that I've swapped a bottle of Stella for a Highland Spring this week.
You're a changed man. Yeah. It's a health kick, right?
No, just we're not playing Leeds, right? And there was nothing to drink. Yeah, but healthy.
Evening, guys. Obviously, going to get through some of the comments. It might be a little bit easier tonight, obviously, with a lack of Millwall. Glenn couldn't agree more. Actually, hate the international breaks. 100%. Andrew, evening all. Thank God sanity has prevailed, and that Millwall podcast is back to give us our Millwall fix. We will do our best. We'll do our best. Obviously, as we've mentioned, international break. No Millwall as such, but there's plenty going on in the footballing world, and obviously a big 8 games to go. I've seen, Jay, I saw your tweet about a tier list, and the tier list have been driving you absolutely insane with who hates each other. But with not really doing a tier list, we'll kick off with 8 games to go. 5 under Harris, 10 points already. Probably in a better position now coming out of this international break than we thought we might be, perhaps, Ben?
Yeah, 100%. We've really put ourselves in a decent position, haven't we? I think it probably, could you say it come at a good time? It wasn't a bad performance against Leeds by any means, was it? But just probably gives Harris a little bit of time just to reset the players again, get them refocused. Probably only, what did we lose? 2 in Brook and Sav for international duty.
And Matty Sarkic and Obafemi went as well.
So we wouldn't have lost a great deal, would we? So we would have kept most of the squad together. But yeah, probably a little bit of recharge of batteries. I'm sure it was an intense sort of 5 games as Harris's boss. So the players probably welcomed it a little bit. But yeah, hopefully we haven't lost any momentum.
No, absolutely. And Jay, I will come to you in a second. But Mark Murphy, good evening. Like and subscribe. Yes, please. You've done my job for me, and Mickey will be proud. If you can like and subscribe, it really, really appreciate it. And Anthony, good evening, lads. Ben, pretty sure I saw you at Blackburn outside, then coming out the grounds. Yes, we were at Blackburn. I think the less said about that, though. To be honest, we've moved on from that. That was a bit of a. If you
saw me outside the ground, you probably heard me and Omar arguing on the train as well, then, Anthony.
Yeah, that was an interesting train journey back. But Jay, I'm going to come to you on this. Did anyone see the Neil Harris interview? Have you watched it first of all before I put you right under the spotlight?
The EFL one on the EFL podcast one. Yeah, I did see it. He says all the right things, Harris, doesn't he? With this Millwallness about us. To add to Ben's point, I think it has come at a good time as well. That as we spoke about the way we're playing football at the moment, it's very, very stressful on the body. These players, they're going to get tired. He hasn't made too many changes either. So with Bradshaw getting assessed again as well, we could see Bradshaw come back. So that's another week down that he's on the sideline, which we will need him in the running. And some players like Billy and Sav and Jaffet, who's took a couple knocks to get some well-deserved rest. But yeah, like you said, we've got 8 games left. It's every game's a cup final, and this is only a good thing for us to have a break, as it is for other teams. But with the 5 point, if you include goal difference, that sort of 6 point cushion we've give ourselves, it's our international break's going to be a little bit easier than some others, should we say.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'll come back to the Harris interview. Joseph will talk about that in a bit more detail. I think come at the right time is probably in a sense of the way that Harris asked the players to play. I definitely think it's come at the right time, because it is difficult to play that high intensity sort of without the ball. It's you seem to forget that it's actually, when people say high intensity and and high pressure, it's not high pressure as in that we're keeping the ball and battering teams. The legs in some of our players are being tested massively at the moment. So in that sense, yes, I agree. Also, we did lose the game. I've always hated going into the international break off the back of a defeat. However, I think because it's Leeds out the way, let's be honest, that they've won, or they've not lost this year. So to get that out of the way now, out of the system, and then we can go again. I definitely think it's the come at the right time, probably is a fair comment. Does anybody know if any of our sick notes might be available for the West Brom game? Probably not. Andrew, probably not. Carl, that is a problem with the international break. We may have lost momentum. Depending on how you look at it, as I say, we lost the last game. So did we lose the momentum there, or did we lose the momentum because we're not playing this week? I think there's two ways to look at that personally.
I don't think we played that bad against Leeds. I really don't. I thought the effort was there. I thought that in the second half, I thought we was largely the better team, and we created a lot of chances at Ellen Road, who are allegedly the 16th richest club in Europe or whatever it is, and and their two goal scorers combined for like 70 odd million quid. So the performance was there. And people getting down. Oh, we lost to Leeds. Who hasn't lost to Leeds this season? So. I think like I said, the performance was there, and I think Harris would be glad to get the players in to reset, to analyse. It's better to analyse a loss than it is to analyse a win when you've got a lot of time on your hands. And obviously a big 4 days coming up with West Brom at home and then Rotherham away. You'd like to think if we can get 4 points from them games, I think we could be well on our way to safety. I really do.
Absolutely, and. Just this comment here from Mike. I thought Harris set up for us to lose in the media, so he set the expectations really well. An intelligent piece of management. He probably did, in a way. He put all the pressure on, not all the pressure, but he put all the focus on their squad, their manager, their fans, their atmosphere. It was nothing to do with us, really. He just it was a clever piece of management. David. Have any of you seen the third goal for Sutton yesterday? We will come on to that. It was an absolute banger. Obviously, young Adam Malachi on loan from us. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's an absolutely wonderful goal. But we will come back to that. That's something we're going to talk about, him and a couple of other players a little bit later. Some big important games coming up. Hopefully the players have rested and ready to give 100%. Exactly. I'm, for one, am hoping that the Ireland manager keeps Michael Obafemi on the bench for their next game. That's absolutely fine by me. He doesn't need any more minutes. George Saville didn't play any part of Northern Ireland's game. Whilst I think that may change in the second one, he can stay as far away from that first team as possible. Matty Sarkic, again, didn't play for Montenegro. So again, that's absolutely fine. It's good for them to have that experience, but we want them all coming back fighting. Ben, we'll move on to the first kind of topic we were going to look at. I'll come to you first. The run-in, 8 games to go. Before we talk about perhaps ours, have you seen Blackburn's?
Yeah, something we discussed, right?
Yeah. For those of you that are not aware, Blackburn have to play all of the top 4. And I believe they have to play Coventry as well in their run-in. So I think, Jay, you said earlier that other clubs might be looking at the international break a bit differently. I would imagine that their management setup and their fans are probably dreading the next 8 games. But Gary Rowett going in at Birmingham. Again, Ben, I'll come to you first on this one. Is he going to keep him up?
I don't even think it's a question. Yeah, 100%. I've seen mixed sort of reviews, if you like, on Twitter since Rowett's gone there. I've got nothing but praise for what he achieved with us. I don't think he left us in a good state as a whole topic of conversation, but he will 100% keep them up. I don't even think it's worth considering them whilst they're down there with us. Yeah, they're not going to lose many games now, are they? From now till the end of the season. So yeah, they will 100% stay up with Rowett.
Jay, do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Look, Gary Rowett's a fantastic manager in this league. Let's have it right. You know, he might not be the guy to take you to the promised land, but he is that. What was a Sam Allardyce type manager? You know, you want that type of manager who will bring stability and knows how to set a team up not to lose first and foremost. And in a relegation battle, not losing has to be the first point of action on the training ground, you know, and Rowett would do that. And they've got some quality players, Birmingham. They have got some real good players, you know, they've got some good attacking players, they've got some youth, and they will stay. I agree with Ben, that they'll stay up 100% because your likes of your Huddersfield, your Sheffield Wednesdays and stuff, with the goal difference they have and the running that they have, I think it's just going to be too much for them. I think Birmingham are going to be more than fine, as I think we will as well.
I mean, you know, I'm going to try and avoid obviously talking too much about opposition teams. About at this time of the season, it's really difficult to not look at fixtures and who other teams are playing and what's going on at the bottom of the league. But Birmingham's next 3 fixtures, so Rowett's next 3 fixtures that he's got to face are QPR at QPR on Friday, which is a massive, massive game of football for both teams.
6-pointer.
Preston on Monday. I don't know if Preston, where's the table? I'm not sure how.
I think they'll lose both them games. I actually think they'll lose both of them. I still think.
And then though, their next fixture is Leicester. So if you know, you go in there 3 fixtures, if they don't pick up any results, I agree with your point, but both of your points that Rowett will go in there and some stability. But if you don't get much out of those 3 games, that he's under immense pressure, much like all the teams at the bottom of the league. So
I think would be amazed if he gets beat by QPR. Sorry, Steve, to jump in. His first game, you know what he's like. He'll make it so hard for them to play. They want to keep the ball. They're a relatively decent footballing side. He'll have 2 banks of 4, almost 2 banks of 5. And I know my name on here as I logged in was Ben is shit at betting, which is quite true. I would absolutely have a banker draw there.
I mean, look, I think that would suit us personally. The more teams that are below us that don't pick up 3 points would be absolutely would be fine for me. Bringing it back to obviously a Millwall perspective. Chris, before I go on, I have seen your comment about let's have your thoughts on the England badge fast tonight. If you're stuck for a topic, we will come back to England overall. I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about there, but we'll come back to that a little bit later on. Bringing it back to our perspective, I think West Brom, obviously, it's one of the tougher fixtures that we've got remaining, obviously, with them going for the top 6. Dependent on if you could say now that you were going to get 3 points on Monday at Rotherham, Jay, you first, would you take a point on Friday if you knew you were getting 3 on Monday?
Yeah, all day long. Points matter, and West Brom are so in form at the moment. They don't get beat.
Flying.
West Brom are such a good team. The manager's fantastic. I love the manager. You know, they've got real good balance throughout their squad, a lot of pace, and they've got some real good midfielders. I mean, they can score from anywhere. They're really creative, and they're going to cause us a whole manner of problems. I would not be surprised if we took a thumping. I know people don't want to hear that, but that is a team that could quite easily come and thump us. I know we're at home, but the way that they set up, the way they play, the type of players that they've got, they're a handful. They really are. They're up there with the Leeds and the Leicesters in this league, and they're one of my sure bets to get promoted. But, you know, like you just said, would I take a point? Even if I wouldn't have the Rotherham result guaranteed, yes, I'll take a point. Because you've got points matter, and with teams playing each other, we just alluded to, your Birmingham and your QPR, that could be a point well gained. If they draw as well, they haven't betted us. It's all about other teams not bettering our results. I will take 1 point every game for the rest of the season if everybody else got 1 point for the rest of the season, you know, because these teams have got to play each other. We've got Huddersfield. I'm not really counting Rotherham because they're down and out, but we've got Huddersfield. Get a point at Huddersfield. That's one less game that they can't pick 3 points up over on us. But if we lost that game to Huddersfield, that's a complete 6 point swing because that's a game that we've lost and they've won. And, you know, so, yeah, to not go too far off of the point in question, yeah, I would absolutely take a point against West Brom, home or away, because they're a brilliant outfit at the moment.
Ben?
I don't think anything more needs to be added. I think perfectly summarised it by Jay. Yeah, 100% would take a point, and they're flying. They're in such good form. Hopefully, the international break for them has come at a bad time because, I say, they have been absolutely flying. But yeah, would 100% take a point with obviously Rotherham and Huddersfield to come after that. So yeah, definitely.
It'd be interesting to know how many international players that they've got away this week, because they're a much better squad than us. I imagine they've got some players that have been away on international duties. You know, if any of them picked up knocks, it's probably the best time to have an international break for us to play West Brom. I wouldn't want to play West Brom in 2 weeks' time or when they've reset themselves. But coming back after a break when the players have been away, you know, it's a short period of time to get some tactics in. So slight little edge maybe to that, but yeah, I agree with Ben.
I think there was a comment earlier that it probably about West Brom's momentum. They're the team that have lost momentum by coming off of going into the international break off of such a good run. So I think this. I'm not necessarily of the. I mean, obviously, of course, I would take a point on Friday if it meant we were going to get the win. Yeah, I know. He always throws you, doesn't it? If you knew you were going to get something or get the 3 points against Rotherham on Monday. But looking at, it's interesting what you said that, as well, about the teams that have still got to play each other. So the fixtures on Friday, you've got Huddersfield, Coventry. So that's not easy for Huddersfield. You've got Hull v Stoke. It's not really straightforward for Stoke, that one. Norwich, Plymouth, not straightforward for Plymouth. Blackburn, Ipswich, not straightforward for Blackburn. You obviously got the QPR Birmingham, so it is going to be difficult for teams to keep picking up points. And this is where, as you say, you know, when we come to those teams, they are 6 pointers, they are big games. Yeah. And you know, I think someone one of the comments was 7 points from our next 4 games. So I think you include Leicester in that. So I think that's a fair amount. But if we do achieve that amount of points, I think we'll be putting ourselves in a great position to be.
I think if we got 7 from our next 4, I would be almost certain we'd be safe.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because, just looking at the table as well, and not that you want to be looking at other teams and hoping they obviously do you a favour. We've got 5 teams between us now in the relegation zone, so there's 5 teams that need to pick up points for us to drop into that. So you've always got a chance. As Jay said, it's about matching results now and not letting them better ours. That's what it's all about now to come the end of the season. And all those teams are down there, including ourselves, obviously for a reason, because they don't win very often or haven't won very often. So you've got to look at it and think, out of all those games you mentioned there, Stephen, if any of those won, I would be amazed.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it, isn't it? I think it's very easy. There was a comment earlier, 3 wins does it. Now, again, teams are at the bottom of the league for a reason. Teams don't win 3 out of 8
what I mean.
or whatever. It is for teams that have been struggling. And you always look at it maybe with rose-tinted glasses with your own team. You always worry a little bit more, you know, about who you're playing, and you think I don't know about you guys, but I expect to be looking at the scores at half time or whatever, and QPR to be ahead and Blackburn to be ahead. You just expect it because it's how football goes. But you're right. I think it's important, and it's important for every fan at the bottom of the league that are trying to get that teams are trying to get themselves out of trouble. No one at the bottom of the league now are going to win 4 or 5 of their last 8 games. It's not going to happen. It's just not. It's just about picking up more points and having that little bit of luck in games that when it really, really matters.
I don't know about, you know, we said 7 in 4. I would actually strip that back. Sorry, Stephen, to say, even if we got 5 in 3, if we got 5 out of our next 3, I would say I'd be confident we'd stay up.
I mean, that would take us.
That'd be 11 points clear with. If we had no return from the teams below us, if they lost their games, and we picked up 5 points, including goal difference, that would be 11 points.
I mean,
so, and that's with, what's that? What did we say in the next 4 games? That's 4 games left, 5 games left. That's game over. That's game over. I honestly think it's less than that. I think that 5 points could keep us up, not just in the next games. I think that'll keep us up. I really do, because I don't think the teams around us are going to pick anything up.
On 48, right?
48. I think it might be a little bit more than that. I think just a little bit more. The interesting one is when you say the next 3 games is the Huddersfield game. Because if you don't get beat at Huddersfield, but if you don't get beat there and you go into that, say you go into that game picking up 4 points in the next 2, and you go into that game and you don't get beat, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to then, and they're the team that are occupying the space third from bottom. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to then make up the points that they need. That's the game. That's the fixture that probably I'm more concerned about Huddersfield away than I am Leicester at home.
100%.
Because
that's the season decider.
Yeah, that's the real, I mean, again, I understand that everyone's circumstances are different, but if you haven't already, or you're not sure about going, or you're not, that's the fixture that Millwall need to be pushing, that people need to be trying to get to if they can. I get, unless you're like Ben, who lives up in the north, that it's a little bit of a trek, but if you're able to go, that's the fixture. I would a little plea to get behind the boys, because that's going to be a real important one for us, I think.
Yeah, massively, mate. Couldn't agree more. Just looking at their fixtures as well. I know we said we didn't want to go into sort of other teams too much, but they've probably got one. They've probably got one of the easier out of the teams at the bottom. Just looking, obviously they've got Coventry Friday. Then they've got Stoke, massive game. Then they've got us, massive game. Then they've got Preston, Bristol City, Swansea, Birmingham, and Ipswich.
So Ipswich last day of the season.
It's in their hands, really, if you look at it like that. They've got 4 games out of those 8 where they're playing teams sort of in and around them. So they'll be looking at it and thinking that they're well in with a shout. My just going back to kind of the original talking point of teams that are down there, they're going to need, if we say we get, 5 more points, they're then going to need to get 9 from their last 8. That seems like a lot for a team that are in the relegation zone in the Championship. Albeit they are playing teams that are down there, like I say, but...
I mean, even with our fixtures, I mean, look, Plymouth at home, Cardiff at home, we could quite easily beat both of them teams. We could quite easily beat both of the playoffs. We could win both them games, and then go to Swansea on the last day of the season, which hasn't been a happy hunting ground for us notoriously, and Sunderland also. They're probably 2 games I think we'd probably drop, but we've got 4 home games. So that's massive. And one of the away games is Rotherham. We could really maximise points out of these home games, bar the West Brom game. But Rotherham, I think, is a must-win. I think that is the big one. If we drop points at Rotherham, or we lose at Rotherham, I think alarm bells might start ringing internally within the dressing room, and the panic will set in. Because that is a game you have to win.
Started ringing from you just saying that, Joe. Just made me go funny.
But that's the reality, though. Like that is a game that everyone down there is chalking off as right. We beat Rotherham. Even we've just said it. If we take 3 points, guarantee 3 points at Rotherham, would we take a point? I think that is a real banana skin, that Rotherham game. We have to win that game, I think, and we have to not lose to Huddersfield, because the rest of the fixtures at home, bar the 2 away games, I ain't worried. But it's them 2 games.
I do think with Rotherham, the potential for the banana skin, and I just to be clear, and for the listeners and anyone else that's watching or commenting or whatever, that I'm not expecting us to go to Rotherham and win 3-4, 5-0. That's not gonna happen. It's gonna be a cagey 1-0 either way, something stupid like that. Huddersfield failed to win there not so long ago. I know they also did have 10 men, but they still, before the 10 men, they failed to score at Rotherham. So and they're not just going to roll over and die like that. Most people seem to, someone commented, and it's true, with Rotherham, we could potentially relegate Rotherham on Monday if results go against. No, but what I'm saying is that that's it. They're not just going to turn up and go, oh, well, we're down, or we're going to get relegated, so let's just not bother. That's not how it's going to work. But I think alarm bells probably would start ringing if we don't get anything at Rotherham. But I do think you have to go there with the expectation and the feeling that you're going to go and win the game. Personally, you can't go into it any other way.
No, I'll be buzzing if we win that game. I'd be more than comfortable that we're going to stay up, I think. And like you say, that week, them 5 days of Rotherham, then Huddersfield, you can't come away with anything less than 4 points, because that will sit. And if we're talking 5 points from the next however many games, well, that's 4. And if we could get a point at West Brom, that's the points total done in the next 3 games. You know, with winnable home games coming up as well, and with teams below us got to play each other and got to play the top 6, 4 out of the last 8 games or whatever. So it's very much in our hands. We're probably the safest out of all the clubs in danger, I would say. But we can't let that get to our heads, and we've got to capitalise on these games, because we will. If we do slip up, then we could spiral, because we are that club. We do not deal with pressure. We are not a very good team under pressure. We showed that at Blackburn. We've showed it in games this season when we've got 1-0 up. We capitulate at a fucking abominating rate. So we need to just keep it up. Nick the little one. I'll take 1-0 off the back of a seagull's arse from a goalkeeper's kickoff. I really would. It does not matter who scores it, where it goes. I'm not worried about strikers not scoring goals. Just fucking get the ball over the line, and at 90 minutes, you've come away with the teams around you not bettering you. That's all that matters at this point of the season. We could talk about strikers and formations and managers and X, Y, and Z when we're safe in the Championship. But for now, none of that matters. I know it sounds silly, but it really doesn't matter right now.
No, and as Dan said there, and Archie, it'd be the most Millwall thing ever to lose at Rotherham. I don't want it. We're not going to go down that route yet. We're not going to go down that route. The Watch Wally. When was the last time we scored 3 goals, Steve? And haven't looked like netting that for some. I'm sure that's supposed to be some time. No, I don't Rotherham expect us to go and rock up. I don't think it was. Was it Sheffield Wednesday away?
Wednesday, yeah. Oh fuck yeah, Sheffield Wednesday away. But
I don't expect.
We pumped from 3-0 at home. So
yeah,
that's another momentum thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve.
I don't expect us to go and batter teams. I really don't. It's not a case of, again, I would never, ever. The only time maybe is if we're playing in the 3rd round of the Cup against someone from non-league. But even then, we'd be sitting here going, it'd be tight 1-0 and it'd be this, that, and the other. And that's just how we are.
4-0.
And that's it. You don't know what's going to happen with us. You really don't. But I think you just, as you said, Jay, you've got to go there with the basis that just get that ball in the back of the net and then keep it out of your one, and then everything else will take care of itself. In my opinion, we need 50 points to be sure. And if there is a God in heaven, please send Birmingham down. This is an interesting one for me. And before we'll divulge off the topic a little bit. I can't stand Stoke, I can't stand Blackburn, and I can't stand Birmingham. So I don't care and QPR. I don't care which one of them go down, as long as it's not us. Really, I couldn't care less. But if you got to pick who it was, Ben, you got Rotherham, and who's the other 2 going?
Well,
not who you think. No. But who would you like to go down?
Stoke, get rid of them, because they are one of those clubs that just for however long now have just wasted money. I just can't stand them. So I'd happily lose them. See, with QPR and Birmingham, there ain't many sort of derby games that we have left in this league now, or big games to look forward to. So I don't mind not losing QPR or Birmingham, because they're quite feisty fixtures. So I would rather keep them and lose. Yeah, get rid of Huddersfield as well. They are just a shit Northern League One drum banging club. Get rid of them. Yeah, so Stoke and Huddersfield for me. And I've got a little soft spot for Sheffield Wednesday.
I agree to an extent. Yeah, definitely. Look, I'll go QPR away. I went Birmingham away this season as well. They're the fixtures that you want to play against. So if I was guaranteed our safety and I had the fucking Canigula thumbs up, thumb down, I'd keep both of them up. I would. Plymouth are pathetic. I know Dan Sexton's going to absolutely hate me when he comes on because he loves his Plymouth away, but Plymouth can fuck off and all. It's just a bastard journey. It's always going to be on a Tuesday night. They're just pathetic. They're not this level. Send them down. Rotherham as well. They need to drop down a couple leagues because they never stabilise themselves in the Championship. And then I'll toss it up with Stoke, Huddersfield, and Sheffield Wednesday. Any of them three, because like Ben hit the nail on the head. Stoke have been pumping money, and they do nothing with it. So they deserve the repercussions of being fucking shit from the board down, not just on the pitch. They deserve the repercussions of a complete and utter clear out. So fuck them off. Rotherham, and then I'd go Plymouth, Huddersfield, or Sheffield Wednesday. I don't care whatever one's joining them, but I'd be happy with that.
Mike, it's a little bit too cold for that, mate, for getting the lucky shorts. Or maybe the last home game, maybe I'll treat you to that. And he sits right in front of me, so he would be treated to that. Stoke, so Mrs. 365 loses a bit of a fortune. The Lion Blue, Stephen the P. Is that a middle name or part of the surname? No, that is a middle name. Bonus 5 points if you can guess what it is. Dan Riggs, this is a question for the panel. Jay, I'll come to you first. Question, next 8 games only, who will be our top goal scorer?
Good question.
And Ben, get you thinking cap on.
I think it'd be Zian Fleming to go with the obvious. I just think he creates too much. He's always there on the edge of the box, and he has been in, I wouldn't say a rich vein of form, but he's scoring goals. Zian Fleming, he's in double digits assists as well. I believe he's had a low key, really good season. Not the heights he hit last season, but he's asked to do a hell of a lot of a different job at the moment under Harris. I think that Obafemi up top or Bradshaw, whoever it is, I think will draw too much attention in the style that we play, whereas Fleming leads the line pressing from the front, and I think we'll just get the ball to him a bit easier than we would the others with set pieces, for instance, and he's our penalty taker as well. So I would say Zian Fleming if I had to put my money on it, because Obafemi's got 1 goal. I'm not going to start labelling 5 goals in the next 6 games. You've got to go with the tried and tested, I think. Tango, our top goal scorer. Under Harris, 100%. And with the balls that we play, our style of football where we're very set piece dependent on a lot of our goals, why not? Why not a defender?
Ben?
Coops. I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to say Obafemi. I think he obviously come on and scored against Blackburn, did really well for 45 minutes. 40 did excellent against Leeds. I'm not going to lie. He had a couple of little half chances where he could have pulled the trigger. I'm sure Harris would have been in his ear about those kind of half opportunities. Obviously, first 90 minutes under his belt. I would like to see him get 2 or 3 now in the next 8. I'm not going to say like Jay, I'm not going to say he's going to get 5 or 6, but if he can get 2 or 3, I don't think he can get many more than that. And Jay, just on your point to Fleming, I think he's got 4 assists this year. I don't think he's I think so.
Apologies for that then.
But I just think we might just see him getting back a bit of a fitness edge now of a Febby. So I'm gonna say him not a very inspiring or clever pick.
Pascal, no, it's not quite Pascal. My middle name, the Lion Blue. Sorry. Zian Fleming will probably go abroad. Denor might get picked up by a top Championship side. Connor, I think there's definitely a conversation to have on both of those players and what's going to happen to them over the summer. Perhaps not right now. As Jay said, we've got to. If we can get ourselves safe, then 100%, 100%, it's a conversation that we'll probably have on a show or pre-record or something. But I don't think the Zian Fleming story is just over yet in a Millwall shirt. I don't think I don't think so. Not yet, anyway. That Red Bull got Jay confused.
Yeah, 100%.
Guys, what's happened to Wes Harden? Is he injured or out of favour? Just out of favour, mate. I'm amazed that Harris hasn't got him in the squad, because I think he's the certain nailed on to be a Neil Harris type centre half, big, strong, thump the ball, clear, but just not in Harris's plans. And for top goal scorer, I'm going to agree with one of you. Not that I disagree that the other person is going to be close up there. I think Obafemi will be our top goal scorer over the next few.
I hope he is
over the last 8 games. Yeah, of course. And it's not. Listen, if he's not, and it's Fleming, it's not a case of I'm picking your one and not yours. But
I just want a striker to score goals, Stephen. I want a striker to get some rich vein of form. And if that's Obafemi, he clearly might not be in Burnley's plans. Although I don't think they'll want him even if they come down. So why not pick him up? We've only got what's his name, Kevin Nisbet on the books as a striker next year. So why not bring him in?
Absolutely, and I think with Obafemi, the bit from Ben there, that he had a couple of opportunities to pull the trigger and he kind of delayed, or the angle was cut down. If that's one thing that I think Harris might be able to, obviously I know he's been away with Ireland, but Harris might be able to kind of coach into him a little bit, is just that, just hit it. You never know what's going to happen. So I'd like to think that I think Obafemi will grab a few.
I love his movement. I love his movement. I think his movement's fantastic, and I think he's very energetic. And let's be honest, he completely changed the game when he come on at Blackburn. We was fully deserving of the goal. We didn't really have much until he come on, although we controlled large parts of the game. I think he's a real firefly up front, and if we can get him in these positions and he can form a bit of a partnership with Zian Fleming, he can score goals because he's a good striker. He was good for Swansea, and he did bits for Burnley as well. You don't go and play for these clubs if you're shit. He's still fairly of a good age, he's still got lots of years in the tank, so there's no reason why he can't play as a lone striker. And if, like you just said, if anyone could get any form out of a striker, it's going to be Harris.
Absolutely.
Add to your point there, Jay, as well. Just sorry, Stephen. So going back to Femi's performance against Leeds, just without trying to be too typical Millwall, I was actually more impressed with his work rate as a lone centre forward who hasn't completed 90 minutes for us. It'd have been quite easy for him to go, I'm not chasing that into the channel. I'm not going to hassle up front. I'm just going to. They're just going to win today, and he could have been not interested, right? But he was anything but that. As Jay said, he was very energetic. His movement was good. He worked really hard, and I was really, really happy to see that from him, because there has been a couple of games where I think we've come on here and gone, could he have done a bit more there? But again, it might have just been fitness, right? As I said, it's his first time he played 90 minutes for us. So yeah, I was really pleased to see him put in a real workman-like performance up top for us against Leeds.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't look like anyone would be picking Harding to go over Cooper and play with Geiger.
He's gone through some season with the club, with the fans, because I mean it's just hilarious, right? Because obviously Riot brought him in, didn't play. Then he obviously kind of came in by default because of the injuries that we had, and we might have all got a little bit excited with his 2 goals.
Listen, we were so blinded by the fact that he puts a crunching tackle in there and then, or, he nicked on the goal, and it blinded us from the fact that he's an absolute fucking cartels of a defender, because he's shit. I was at Leicester away, and the geezer should have been sent off. Like, he was so bad. Him and Murray Wallace, they were both, and that was just poor management. Like, they both out there on the left getting absolutely rinsed. He's a poor player. He's nicked a couple goals, but he's not a good defender. No, now, I agree, he's a Harris type, where he's that sort of build, that type of probably mentality and, that type of character, but he's just not a good enough player. He could not play for Rotherham.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, there's a reason why he did play at Rotherham, right?
Exactly. So what makes us think he's going to jump over Tanganga, who's class, and who's played Champions League football, when Cooper, who Harris signed and who's captain, he's never going to play. He's not going to play for this club again if Harris is still here.
Is he only signed a 12-month deal? Is he out of contract himself?
Nah, 2-year deal.
2 years he signed.
2 years.
Buy him out. I'll buy him out. I think he's that bad. I honestly think he's that poor.
So I'm going to go with this comment first. Ben, have you had any beers tonight, or is it safe?
No, it's safe tonight. I'm on the
high. However, he may turn to the beers with this one. For the benefit of the people listening on Spotify, from Connor, maybe an unpopular opinion, but Obafemi is an upgrade on Bradshaw. Fast, strong on the ball, and good on the ball as well. Ben?
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion, mate. I mean, look, one's come from a Premier League team and one has historically been a League One / Championship side. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion at all, to be fair. Look, I love Brad, as we know that. I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, a little Obafemi is a reason where he come from. It was Southampton's youth academy, and as Jay said, then played in a decent Swansea side and then got a big move to the Premier League. So yeah, he's levels, to be honest, isn't he?
Absolutely. I have to say, I know we all love Tom Bradshaw, but I
don't want to talk about Tom Bradshaw. I don't want to derail it, but I do like Tom Bradshaw because of his, his work rate, and the geezer was strapped up everywhere last season, and he was heroic for us last season. He put his body on the line, and we'll never forget that. He scored a lot of goals, and he was brilliant. But other than that season, last season, he has done nothing but be on that injury table. He's done nothing. He doesn't deserve to be here. I'm afraid we need to stop looking at players. Go, they've given 100%. They need to be here. Wasting money on these players when you can get an Obafemi. They need replacing. We need to start moving forward.
Just my opinion on that, Jay. Again, so Harris signed Bradshaw, right?
Yeah.
So I would be absolutely amazed if Bradshaw gets released in the summer.
Oh, I would as well. I mean, he's out of contract.
But get another 12 months, I would have thought.
Yeah, like you just said, Harris loves his guys, as we've seen, where he's leaving people like Denore on the bench and Billy Mitchell's playing. But I love Ben. I'm not breaking his arm. I'm just trying to soothe it a bit. But no, I agree to your point, though, Ben. It's very interesting that some of these players that would not take us into the future, or we probably wouldn't have around, Harris would probably have around. I think the next 12 months, if we do stay in this league, and if we stay in this league, that's another thing that factors in. I'd love Bradshaw in League One under Harris. He'd be a good striker in League One. But yeah, there's a lot of turmoil this is a massive off season, which will take up multiple pods. So we won't derail it with this one.
What I'm going to do is a couple of comments I've started. We'll come back to for the next topic, but just a couple on here. So, Alex, do you think we'll sign Tango or get gazumped by someone? Unfortunately, as much as I'd love us to sign him, I think there's someone out there that's likely to be able to offer a little bit more money. You don't know what goes on in the background, but I think that would be quite a struggle. And the next comment before we move on to the next sort of topic, Ben, I'm going to come to you first. Yes or no? Would you give Fleming away to keep Obafemi and Tangman?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think...
Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, and Ben, why?
Well, I mean, you're getting 2 for 1 there, aren't you? You're getting... I mean, we've seen with JT the class now, again, with him coming back to fitness, and I think with Obafemi, we're getting something we don't have in Nisbet and... Bradders, which is pace, power, directness, and someone who's got a decent goal scoring record. So that'd be an absolute no-brainer. Where are they going? Because I will drive him. He actually can get on my back. I'll walk down to London and pick him up, and I'll carry him where he needs to go if that's on offer.
Jay, do you pretty much agree with what Ben said there?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, pretty much that. You're getting 2 for 1. You're getting 2 young players as well, with a lot of potential. Tanganga's a great player. If you can get Tanganga and Obafemi for Zian Fleming, I think you, like Ben said, drive them to wherever they need to go. But we've kind of got some replacements for Fleming in there. I'd love to see Esse in a 10. I really would. I think he'd thrive in a 10. He's very creative. He's got that about him. I'd love to see him in there. Or Maya, maybe Maya could drop into that. There is options out there. And if you can get someone like Tanganga and Obafemi, you've instantly shored up 2, in my opinion, the 2 biggest positions of need going into next season is a centre half and a striker. So if you can sacrifice Fleming to get that, 100% all day long.
Again, not to
I agree
about this pod, but it's going to be really interesting to see what Bomber does do next year. If we are safe, are we going to see Esse more? Are we going to see a Mac? I know he's been injured, but are we going to see a Mac who's sort of starting every week? Because again, that might change things in terms of who we target up top. Do we re-sign Bradders on 12 months? Does Zamaku go up top then? So we've got 3 centre forwards. And as you say, Jay, does Esse sort of come in? Does he see him as a 10? So, yeah, it's interesting to see what Bomber will do next year and whether we are just playing like we are now to stay up, or has Harris progressed as a coach?
It's interesting to say as well. Sorry. I was just going to mention, Stephen, that he's publicly spoke about Casper Denore, hasn't he? That he's sat down with Casper in his office, and they've had these conversations that we're having, basically saying that, look, you're going to be a great player for Millwall, but at this present time, this is not the situation that I need you in. This is the backs against the wall, and I need players. Not that he can't do that, but I know these players. So I know what I can get out of them, and we've only got a short amount of period of time to do that. So I do think he is going to progress us forward a little bit with your likes of Casper's. But I agree with everything you said, Ben. Not to add too much more. That it all depends on what league we're in with how Harris is going to approach it.
Well, unless you boys have seen the comments, because I started one just about 10 minutes ago, so I'm going to claim that you both saw it clearly from Alex. If we win 2 or 3 in the next 4 or 5 games, do you think we'll see SA get some game time? Again, probably a comment and a topic, as you boys have said, for another pod where we, maybe we're in that position. But it would be interesting if we do find ourselves safe with maybe a couple of games to go. Obviously, that's a big if. Does Denor get an opportunity? Does SA get an opportunity if Amaku comes back in? I don't think we can judge whether Harris has progressed as a coach perhaps this season. If you've only given them 2 games at the end, I don't think that's really enough to judge him on. But it certainly would give you some kind of understanding. Is he looking to the future? Is he looking at these younger players that can carry us forward? So I would like to say that answer to that question is yes, if Harris has progressed, but only at the point that we're safe, I think. And now, on to a couple of other style comments, a couple of bits, and it moves me on nicely. This was right at the beginning of the show. Alex Mitchell and Adam Malachi both will be like new signings, 2 lads pushing for the first team now, surely. Dan Riggs, we need to bring Alex Mitchell back in the summer, 100%. Hutchinson replacement all day. Guy deserves a chance having it off at Lincoln. 100% Alex Mitchell needs to come back into the squad. So we've got a young centre-half who's playing very, very well, admittedly in League One below us. We're talking about we need a centre-half. It's a position that desperately needs to be filled. Tanganga will go back to Spurs in the summer. Does Alex Mitchell get an opportunity? Ben?
I mean, you got to say yeah now, haven't you? I mean, if he doesn't, I'm always sceptical. I know Danny Mack came back after playing for St Johnstone as well. I'm always sceptical about the Scottish League and obviously loans coming straight back and just a level of standard up there. But look, Lincoln are absolutely flying. They've got an ex-Leeds coach right in charge, and he's still playing 90 minutes week in, week out. I think Lincoln are knocking on the door of the playoffs now, so that they're flying up
big
the
time.
league. So yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get game time next year with Hutch on an age, certainly the wrong side of 30 by way, Tanganga going back, as I say, if he doesn't play and get in the side next year, or certainly in the squad a lot more, then you're going to be looking at getting rid of him, aren't you? But I think, look, I haven't seen him play, so I don't know how he's been getting on. But the fact I did have a look at how much he has been playing. He's almost played 90 minutes every game for Lincoln since he's been there. He's had a couple of knocks that I saw where he obviously got taken off, then wasn't in the squad. But yeah, apart from that, he's pretty much played 90 minutes the whole season. So he's obviously had a decent, solid year with them. So yeah, you'd have to look to get him in the side.
And Jay, same question to you, but before to get your opinion on it, I don't know if either of you boys saw his interview in the week. He gave an interview, I think it was to South London Press or News at Den, and he seemed very. I don't want to throw him under the bus here because this probably is a little bit unfair, but it's almost as if he's not taken any interest or he's got no thoughts on what's happening at Millwall. To be honest, he's just gone. I'm not at Millwall. It was clear that he knew obviously the manager change and things like that, but it was as if I'm playing at Lincoln now. I'm enjoying my football. I'm going to concentrate on this, and then we'll deal with that sort of, in the summer. Clearly, to me, shows that he's a little bit switched on. And like Ben said, with the centre half is a position that we desperately need to fill in the summer, and a permanent one that's going to take us forward. Surely you've got the man in question, right?
I agree to an extent. I think his interview was brilliant. It shows maturity. It shows that, he is fixed on the task at hand, and he's loving life at Lincoln. Lincoln fans love him as well. I wouldn't be surprised. Lincoln will probably, especially if they get promoted, come hard after Alex Mitchell.
I was just about to add that, Jay.
I really do think they will. And is the jump up a bit too much for Alex Mitchell at this level? Is he good enough to get in the squad? I would say so, 100%. Is he going to start every week? I still think with the return of Mitchell, we would still need to invest in a centre half, in a half decent centre half that will compete with him for that spot alongside Cooper, because I don't think Cooper's going anywhere anytime soon. But I love everything about him. His size, he's quick as well. He could play out from the back. He seems to be a leader. There's a future captain in there somewhere. Love everything about him. The fact he's in League Two and playing well doesn't surprise me. But what will surprise me is if he could do it at this level as well, So I'm a little bit up in the air about it. Yes, I want him back in the squad. I don't want to sell him because he's our player. And at some point, we need to start nurturing our own players and bringing them into the first team, because Lincoln will quite happily take him off our hands. And it won't just be Lincoln. There'll be other teams that are seeing his performances, because he's made a lot of teams of the week. He's always on their social media page, photos of him, when they've won games and things like that, doing his little interviews, like you just said. So he ain't going to be short of suitors for newly promoted teams to League One or teams maybe going down from the Championship. So it's going to have to be addressed and sorted out probably fairly quickly in the off-season. That needs sorting out, because we either need the funds from a Mitchell sale and to work out what we need, or we need to bring him back and give him a deal and tell him he's going to compete for the starting job. But yeah, it's only good things that we're having a conversation about a player who's played really well on loan. So that's the plus about it.
Just a little stat, just to add this thing before you mention your piece. Lincoln have got the second best defensive record in League One.
Yeah, and the thing is, obviously you take into account the keeper and other players, but if you're part of that, you're still part of that defence that has been very good. And considering the teams that are at the top of that league as well, who are very, very good in League One, that's some going. As Alex said there, Mitchell has done it in Bromley in the Conference, or in League Two, Lincoln in League One. Surely deserves a crack at the Championship. I'd argue as well. Didn't he go over to Scotland? Should he go up to Scotland as well?
We went to St Johnson.
Yeah. So maybe I think he deserves. I certainly think Harris will have a look at him. I don't think it's just going to be a case of right, you're out the door, and perhaps it's an opportunity. Come.
He's a Harris player.
He's not the answer to all of our problems at the back. Of course, we know that, and it's gonna. We probably would need to invest as well, but certainly deserves some form of opportunity. Can't see Tanga coming in shop window, thanks to us. Can we afford his wages? Question one more likely. The other player that was mentioned there in the initial comment, I have started a couple of other comments, guys, to come back to. So if you haven't seen a comment or questions that's come up, I will come back to them and ask the guys a little bit later on. Adam Malachi. Again, I said it at the start of the show. If you haven't seen his goal yesterday for Sutton in their 3-1 win, go and check it out. It's a very, very good goal. People are saying, Dan, I think Dan Sexton put in our chat, didn't he? See you, Murray Wallace. Thanks for your services and getting Adam Malachi in the team. To me, I think for him, it's probably maybe still a little bit too soon. He is playing for a side at the bottom of League Two. We do have to kind of remember that there are he's not playing at a team that's at the top of the division. They are at the bottom of the league, and they're there for a reason. Obviously, Steve Morrison is looking after him and giving him some game time and giving him sort of some confidence to play in the Football League. But I do think he is someone that certainly we really do need to be having a look at getting out on loan again. League One next year, give him the step up, and then have him back in the first team fold. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I would say it's a big difference, I think, with a League One challenging playoff side to a Sutton United that are staring down the barrel of getting relegated to the conference. I think the huge plus we have is obviously that Morrison's there, and Morrow, I would imagine, will be giving very, very honest and fair feedback back to Harris in terms of where he's at. Again, he's played a lot of football. He's pretty much played 90 minutes since he's been there. Every game since he's been there, sorry. So, yeah, he's playing a lot of football. He looked a bit small to me. I haven't seen too much of him. I only saw his highlight, his goal, pretty much on repeat on Twitter this morning, and he looks quite small to me. I know he's a fullback, so you can probably get away with it a bit. But, yeah, look, these are the sorts of players, if they are any good now, you're going to be sort of getting them in and around the team, right? It'll be interesting whether we see Mayo as more of a forward player, will Mayo play as a left wing back? Will that change now with Harris probably and formations? Would it have been slightly different with Joe Edwards and the way we were playing with him? So that'll be an interesting one to say whether he'll play further forward. But yeah, Malachi, I'm a little bit less confident on saying I'd like to get him back next year. I think I'd be more with you, Stephen. I'd like to see him go back out on loan and probably to a League One team.
I think as well, the difference, Jay, the difference with him as well is that I think he's a couple of years also younger than Alex Mitchell. So, Mitchell's had a few more experiences. He's had a few more, Football League appearances and also in Scotland, whereas Adam Malachi, Morrison gave him his first team debut, professional debut. So there's a lot of factors to go into that. But it just goes to show, and I think, anyone that's, I'm sure the listeners are the same, you guys and anybody else listening to this, on repeat or as a podcast, John Berylson invested a lot of money into the academy, and to keep that going and to make sure that we still had that, churning through players. And I know we do give perhaps Millwall a little bit of a hard time with some of our recruitment processes, but it seems to be that the effort and the commitment and the funds that were put into that academy at the time that he did does now seem to be just proving its worth to us, with some of these players, because they may not ever play for us, and they may not ever be the best players that we've ever had, but if their names are in the papers and they're on the headlines, bigger clubs will be looking at them, and it could be opportunity to raise additional funds, which would obviously help the first team, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Look, it's always welcome when you see a young player doing well out on loan. It is his first stint. It is a process. He does need a couple more stints. He needs to work his way up and earn it. But it is a good thing. I don't see him as a proper left back. I think he's more of a wing back. He's short, he's quick, he's got some pace. And by all accounts, he's got a goal in him as well, as we see the weekend. So, it's definitely pleasing. Some of these youngsters, I'd like to see a few more go out as well. Abdul Malik, maybe send him out, because that's another player who's just wasting away in the fucking hell, in the under 21s or whatever it is. So yeah, it is a good thing for us, and if they do play well when they're not part of our future, then you need to recoup a fee for them. We're not a very good club at recouping fees for players. We didn't recoup anything for any players this season either. We didn't do much last season in recouping fees, so we need to start doing what Bristol City do, doing what these other clubs do, where they have these young talent come through and they give them a chance. Once they've gone through earned their stripes, as say, and they're going out on loan, and then send them on for big fees. It's our clubs need to work, especially at this level, because we aren't financially dependent like some other clubs. I'd like to see him come back in the pre-season and show us what he's got before we make any of them decisions. He did play in this pre-season just gone, and yeah, like the look of him, really like the look of him. So yeah, it's definitely pleasing that we are seeing the likes of Alex Mitchell, Malachi have some success, because it's showing that we have got some good players in the academy. We don't have to keep going outside to look for players. We have got some on our own doorstep, and we should start really looking into that.
Absolutely. And another name that has appeared a lot, especially over the weekend, again, with no Millwall fix, I think fans are looking for any way of making a link to Millwall or getting some kind of conversation going. Isaac Alafi, I believe 19 goals in League Two. That might and playing very, very well. Obviously, Stockport are going great guns at the top of League Two, looking like they could be set for promotion up to League One. The club have a sell-on fee and a buyback option. We have our resident football manager expert in Ben that can give us all the ins and outs of what the buyback and what that might actually mean for us. But Ben, if the opportunity arose and it wasn't a ridiculous fee, would you take a punt on bringing Alafi back to the club?
Well, I think you'd have to, right? I think we kind of briefly discussed it earlier in our WhatsApp group, and we always like to mention young players that are playing in the lower leagues. Why aren't we looking at so and so? Why aren't we looking at him? We've almost got someone there that is an extension of the club with the buyback clause. I know it's not like that. He's contracted to Stockport. I get it, but if we wanted to, we obviously put a buyback clause in there for a reason, and I'm assuming we negotiated one that would have been attractive had he have done what he has done in terms of scoring a lot of goals at Stockport. I'd be really keen to see or understand if anyone has any insights at what we believe that buyback clause would be, because if it was, say, sub 500k. I think I'd have a punt, definitely, with the likes of, as we said, Bradders out of contract, Nisbet. I think personally still jury out on him a bit. It will certainly give us something completely different. He took his goal really well again Saturday. I've seen him a couple of times now. So yeah, I think depending on what that fee looked like, I think I would definitely take a punt.
That good goal scorers will be able to put the ball in the net at every level. We should have given him a go beforehand. For a League Two player, the buyback won't be massive. I think it's a no-brainer. So, Jay, before I get your opinion on this, for me, if it's not a ridiculous fee, which again it's League Two, they're not going to demand.
What have you got in your mind there? So I said sort of sub 500k. What are you thinking?
I think if you can get him for it, I would say anything less than. I would probably say anything less than 500,000. I think it's definitely worth having a go. If they're going to turn around and go, we want 1.5 million or something ridiculous like that, then I would say
buyback calls. That's why it's in there. We're the only club that can buy him for that. They could sell him elsewhere for more, but then sell on percentage. But
yeah, of course,
if we went in with that bid that matched the buyback clause, get my words out, then obviously they have to accept it. So that's why I was just interested to see what you thought would be.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's fees, isn't it? And Jay, obviously, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but 500,000 bloke who's likely to finish up with over 20 goals at the top of League Two, get his team promoted into League One. We're always saying about we're a club that perhaps needs to be buying players. I know he was one of ours, and that will open up a whole, can of worms. But one of the top goal scorers in English football in that division, worth a punt for that money?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I was gutted we let him go in the first place. He looked like he was making some strides. He was in and around the first team. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's young, and he's a typical Millwall type striker, or a typical Harris striker, if I'd say. 100%. Why wouldn't you? I think he'd want to come back. If they get promoted and we drop into League One, though, where does that stand there? Do we look elsewhere? Because I think the step up to the Championship for him again would be more appealing to him. I think he's enjoying life at Stockport. Would he want to come back to play in the same league? I don't think he would. I think he's moved on. But having that right of first refusal with a buyback clause is definitely a good thing for a young player like that. And if the fee is manageable and it doesn't put us hard up for strengthening elsewhere, 100%. We need a striker. So, yeah, as you said, 20 goals in League Two. All right, it's League Two. You could say bottom half of League One because, they're probably going up. But, yeah, 100% you have to do that. I'd love to bring him back. I didn't want us to get rid of him in the first place. So, yeah, definitely have him back. But there's some other names in League Two. Langstaff. He bangs in 25, 30 goals every single season for Notts County, every single season. I'll take a punt on him. He's probably going to be worth 3 times what Alafi is. So Alafi could be shrewd business, because the pedigree is there with Langstaff. So I think there'll be a few more clubs looking at him. He's done it over a period of time.
Just to add on that bit as well with Langstaff, so we were rumoured, I think it was last year, weren't we? And I think Middlesbrough.
It was, yeah. But Borough had a couple bids rejected. I think the price would be.
And I think that was well north of £1 million, right?
Yeah, it would have been.
So that's what I mean. If you're kind of taking a punt, like I think when I read earlier, just on the news articles of Alafe, just obviously prepping for this, it said that the fee was 6 figures. So for me, that doesn't sound like it's much higher than 100k, because otherwise they might have. Or you would have thought they might be a little bit more specific. Yeah. The fact they've just said that might have just been 100k. So our buyback clause, you would imagine. I think Ant said in the comments there that maybe it is only about 200, 250k. If it is that, I think it's kind of almost a no-brainer, isn't it, to get him back?
Pennies.
Especially
just swallow your pride almost as the club and just say.
Especially as well, let's face it, if you take, I don't know, again, we spoke about wages on another show. You take the wages that Tom Bradshaw's on, for example, yeah? If you stand in the Championship and you're going to move him on, if you take his wage, right, and then what you're paying him, you're not going to pay Alafi anywhere near that, because obviously he's coming in from League Two, so the wage will drop. And then the remaining funds you could put into the fee. So you lose a striker that's in his 30s to bring in a younger option at the same kind of cost. It's low risk business, really.
Good business.
In that sense. Yeah, very, very good business.
Well, it's Mike, interesting to not just to hang on to that point with Alafo, but just it's interesting that we even put a buyback clause in his contract, right? Or the deal with Stockport. Have we ever done that before? I can't. I
think most clubs do it with
most clubs.
A lot of clubs do it with a lot of youngsters.
It's interesting that we've done it. There was obviously an element of this could happen, and that's why we've done it. So, I think, as I say, the fans might not be happy and going, well, why the fuck did we get rid of him in the first place? But I also think it could also be quite a shrewd bit of business from the club by saying, we've got the buyback calls. It's not ridiculous amounts more than what they paid for him. He's got another year of football under his belt. The team he's played for are going to get promoted. So, it could be a really, really good piece of business from the club.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Spot on, Ben. You live near Stockport. Go have a word with him. They train in Carrington. Right, that's Ben's job for the week. Mike, I did see a comment here. So, going to Rotherham with my 10-year-old son. Any of you going? He keeps telling me to go on your Who I doubt you would get work in Edgeways. I did, especially my transition from Spurs to Millwall. So, that's a great opportunity for me to plug that we did Who Are You? It went up with Omar, the show, one of the show's founders, creator, however you want to word it. That went up on Friday. If you haven't listened to it, please go and check it out. Jay has also recently done a Who Are You? That will be going out soon, so you can get to hear all his story and some real unresolved Jermaine Beckford issues come out in that episode. We could be here for hours talking about how much. You imagine Ben last week on the live after Leeds. Well, that was Jay with Mr. Beckford. Mike, if you'd like to come on Who Are You, please drop us a message. We'd be more than happy to hear your transition from Spurs to Millwall. We don't bite. We won't allow the comments to give you too much of a hard time. Going to Rotherham, I think Ben is. That's again, it's local for him. There's a strong possibility that I will be going to it. I was thinking of doing one of that or Huddersfield, but the games come along and I just want to go to all of them. So there'll be some faces there. Come and say hello, or go and say hello to Ben or whoever. We're a friendly bunch. We don't bite too much, so more than happy to come and say hello. Couple of points here before we move on. One that's very interesting, actually, that I'm sure that both of you will be keen to hear. Could be a problem with Harris next season, keeping the likes of Bradshaw, Coops, Hutch because he signed them, or should he be playing the youngsters? The worry with Harris next season is he will play the likes of Alex Mitchell, S.A. Amaku, etc. if he keeps on the players who he knows he can get a tune of: Bradders, Coops, Hutch, etc. And the last one here from Tunbridge MFC, which I didn't know. I'm not aware of this. Tunbridge, if you can give us any more information on this, because I don't know what this is. But Bradshaw and Saville have triggers in their contract which have already been triggered. So that, I don't know. I'm assuming he's suggesting that they will be Millwall players next season. That's the trigger that he's talking about. If that's the case, then our piece on Alafi coming in and the funds for Bradshaw has just been thrown out the window.
Didn't Sav do an interview recently where he was asked about his contract and he said, I want to get the season out of the way first. We're sort of playing well, and kind of brushed it off, or I just completely made that up? He
gave an interview about his contract and saying that he'd love to stay.
Edwards was still here, right?
Yeah, he was. I think it was just before Christmas, like real close to like a couple of weeks before like the Christmas period. And basically he was saying how much he loves it and he wants to stay and play and he gets the fans and this, that and the other.
I definitely remember reading that somewhere. That it didn't sound like he had something triggered then, but obviously that could have been
no. But if you think between then and now and how many games that he's played I think perhaps it could have been triggered. I'm not too sure, but it'd be interesting if that's the case.
And
Chris
with the
Brown,
club
you'd think so. You'd think so. I mean, I'm not too sure. I don't know if there's anything. I don't know what Jay is probably looking it up now, but I haven't seen anything. Chris, Jay's Who Are You is 2 hours long. Go to the toilet before you watch it. No, it's not 2 hours long. You don't have to worry about that. We are just under an hour, I think it was. Mike, okay, guys, we'll try and see you. Absolutely, come and say hello if you see us. We're more than happy to have a chat, all things Millwall. If West Brom go up and we stay up, do we think we could see Jed back at the Den next season? That would be the Neil Harris of Neil Harris signings, but much like we keep talking about coming away from old players, I'm not so sure that would be. I'm not so sure.
Maybe an unpopular opinion here, but Jed deserves his guy in the Premier League as well. He's West Brom captain, isn't he? If they go up, I think he'd want to stay there and have a crack
at Premier League football.
At Premier League football, yeah.
Absolutely. Harris moved in Robinson and Dunn when he first came in. I don't think he's overly sentimental and he'll know the right decisions to make. Yeah, that was something we spoke about. Alan Dunn was a long standing. He'd been at the club since he was a boy and Harris wasn't afraid to let him go. So I don't think it's always sentiment, but if we can see if Saville and Bradshaw are staying, then we'll try and get something on that. But does that mean Harris can shoot them if they underperform? The EFL interview of Harris, Brad is clearly here next season from what Harris said. I've seen a lot of people say that, and I have listened to it. I get where you're coming from with that, but it would surprise me if he was so sort of open about that on a podcast and give that away. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 and just accept that it's likely that he's going to stay. But it would very much surprise me.
Staying, mate, with Harris in charge.
So if I could just jump in then, boys, on Salary Sports, which is a really good place to look. It's got that Tom Bradshaw's on just over £6,500 a week, and his contract does run out on the 30th of June 2025.
Oh, maybe then.
Oh, wow. Okay. What about Saville? Anything on Sav?
I'll look right now.
Chris Brown, American Rover. This is a great comment. Just emerged from a 24-hour power outage at home, and the first thing I do to check the connection is log on to you lot. American Rover, we appreciate you, and obviously hope everything's all right after the 24 hours. So you got your priorities right.
So to touch on George Saville, he earns £16,000 a week, and his contract runs out the 30th of June this year. So it does appear that Bradshaw is on the hook for another 12 months. And also it's up here that he's out of his protective boot and we could see him in a couple of weeks.
I think that with Bradshaw, though, it was always that he was going to be back perhaps for the middle to end of April, wasn't it? Which would have meant that he had maybe 1 or 2 games at the back end of the season. I'd love to see him back. Again, jury's still out whether keeping him on, if that's true and that's going to happen, is the right way to go. But I would love to see him back at least before the end of the season to.
Also, sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
There is a 1-year extension option in George Saville's contract. The recent performances would say that that's probably going to happen, but the Millwall have not made any contact at all with his representatives. So it does appear that it's get the season out of the way. It's not the time for talking about contracts, and we will then assess it then. Tom Bradshaw's extension looks like it was done in the Joe Edwards era. So it was done a while back to activate his 12 months. So Saville is, wow. It looks like that. Saville will probably have his option extended. So Saville will probably be here, but it does look like Bradshaw is going to be here regardless. So that would throw a spanner in the works with having Bradshaw and Kevin Nisbet under contract next year. But only £6,000 a week he's on. George Saville's on 3 times.
I find that quite hard to believe, but what do we know? These kind of things always
coming up from League One, mate, and coming from Barnsley. I know. We said it a couple of weeks ago, right? I think. Well, we said it on the lead show. I think you'd be surprised at how much some of our players are actually on.
Yeah, I think so. He's done nothing.
Yeah, perhaps.
He hasn't done anything in his career to earn a massive pay rise from Millwall anyway. He probably got fucking $4,500 of that pay rise for last season.
Peter, Stephen, where's my keyring? Come and find me on Friday, block 10, around block 10, and I can sort that out. I've got a few of them left over, so by all means. Leno as well, I think he has an extension clause activated. If we don't keep Ryan Leonard beyond this season, then we might as well give up. That's all I'm going to say on that, because he's just been absolutely superb.
Another Harris signing, mate. So 100%, if he's got an then he's staying. Not that he doesn't deserve it anyway. He's going to be player of the season, right? But
there's conflicting reports on all of these players, so I wouldn't read anything as a gospel, to be honest.
Not yet. Do we need to have a whip round for our cousin across the pond, American Rover, so he can keep his power on? We'll get the Just Giving page sorted, and if everyone can donate a few quid, keep him going. Michael Dunn, Jay, I think you're killing off some of our listeners. Sorry, I just fell off my chair. How much is Savon?
16.5 grand allegedly, but don't. These are good sources, but don't take them for. 16 on the nose, and it says that Bradshaw is on 6.6.
What he's saying there, Michael, is anytime you mention that, you can clearly quote Jay and say Jay said he's on 16 grand a week.
When you confront him in the car park and say, "How are you on 64 grand a month?" we'll just be pointing him to Jay's Twitter handle.
Well, this is interesting, because he was on in 2018 when we had him. He was on 6,200. Borough gave him 16 grand. And then when he come back to us, it's just we haven't budged it. So I imagine it's we've had to match that for him to come back.
They're still paying that off, aren't they, Borough?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Saville is nowhere near worth the money now. Let's be real. We have to be so careful with wages. They have to be ruthless. Imagine having someone who's 50-50 to be a starter next year on 16k. Yeah, well, I do agree. I mean, I love Sav. And I have done since he's been back at the club. He's probably been if not my favourite player over the last 2-3 seasons.
He's 30 years old.
But yeah, on that money, it's that's quite. If true, if the sources is correct and they've got their information right, that's quite a large sum of money to give someone who's in their 30s, and as you say, may not be a regular starter. What was Tango on at Spurs, Jay? You're not out of the woods yet. I think you have to just keep researching that one.
I'll have a look.
And remember, please keep it in the Millwall family. Pay me. Michael Dunn, Steve. I totally agree about Lenny. How much is he on? Again, we'll get Jay on that. But I think you look at contracts and things like that. Let's face it, we all, as fans, every football club up and down the world, the supporters are looking for the transfer windows. They're looking for the rumours, who might be coming in, whose contracts are going to expire, that kind of stuff. We're no different. I mean, in our group chat over the transfer windows, we post so much crap about, rumours and whispers and what someone's earned and someone's cousins, knows this person and this, that and the other. I would definitely think there's going to be a lot of conversations over the summer. We're going to be very busy as a football club over the summer, whether or not we, whether we spend big money on players, we're going to have to be, because of the amount of out of contract and loans and things like that. So it is going to be an interesting summer. But again, I think that would be for the time. Sorry, that would be for the time that once we know what division we're in, then we can look at nailing down some of those transfers. So
Tanganga got a contract extension recently, and he's now on 25 grand a week.
Because they had an option to extend.
So he signed a 5-year, £6 million contract with Tottenham, which is an annual salary of 1.2 million in 2023. Tanganga will earn a base salary of 1.3, so he's on 25 grand a week. We're probably paying about 30% of that. Yeah, still contracted. He signed a 5-year. It expires in 2025.
Oh, okay. So I thought
his market value is 2.5 million.
I thought he was out of contract in the summer, and they had an option to extend.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But American Rover, here we go. If Mill were a beer, what would it be?
Oh, Carlsberg probably. Just fucking no one really wants it, but you'll have it if it's the last one on the shelf. And it's always warm. So It's a chore going to Millwall. We all know it's a chore. Let's not act like we're a Stella or a nice cold pint of Guinness. We're a fucking shitty little Colesberg, and we make do. But after 4 or 5, you go, this is all right, actually.
Obviously, I'm looking at it from the other angle. I'm actually looking at, there's always a beer that's on tap, and it always triggers people. They're like, why the fuck's that on? Like, it just annoys people. That's what I'm thinking we would be, but I don't know what sort of beer that would be.
Well, this one here, American Rover, surely it's Stella. I'm a big Sav fan, but can't believe he's on so much. That will come from going to Middlesbrough on big money. That's where it's come from.
It changed when he went there.
Absolutely. Sean Williams, Mbappe, Aidan O'Brien, and Ben Thompson coming in next season. Yeah, sure. If Mbappe, we might have to get Mbappe's right boot or something, but Skull, Tuborg before they served it up before. Right. Coming another topic before we come back to we're not going to do too much on West Brom. There won't be a live, guys, before the West Brom fixture. I think there's plans to have a pre-record in the week for you guys that goes into that, but we'll do a quick bit on that as this is the last live before then. Chris Brown asked a little bit earlier about the England, the situation with England and the flag and all this, that and the other. Firstly, last night, disappointing defeat for England. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but if anybody thinks that we're going to win the Euros with Gareth Southgate in charge, I think they need their heads banging together because it's very, very, it's just dross, isn't it? Let's face it. They don't excite you, do they?
I'll be honest, mate. I used to watch every minute of every England game religiously, and I will not watch an England friendly with Gareth Southgate in charge. It's painful enough watching qualifiers when we have 3 holding midfielders against fucking Albania. So, yeah, I can't watch us in a friendly with Gareth Southgate in charge, so I didn't watch a single minute of it.
But, well, and to be honest with you, lots of people do feel that way, and it's just very, very disappointing. On the issue with the kit, I'm not going to do too much on this. I don't know if you guys want to come in on this. I think, firstly, the price of the kit is absolutely disgusting. It's supposed to be the world's game and to charge 125 quid, or they give you the lesser version, not the non-playing one, for 85 is outrageous. Ben, obviously, and Jay, you both have Litlands. If you was buying your Litland shirt, it would cost you 65 quid just for the shirt alone. That is, for me, outrageous. The FA, Nike need to have a look at themselves because, costing people out of the game. And the issue with the flag, do I agree with it? No. Should they have done it? No. But I'm not as upset or triggered, shall we say, by lots of people on social media. I think it's a poor choice and it probably should be rectified. But for me, the big disgrace is the fact that they're costing people and pricing people out of football. I don't know what you guys think about it.
The common denominator in all that, mate, is the FA. They're an absolute farce. Whoever has signed the flag off needs shooting. Quite frankly, how they thought it would be okay to do that, or fans would accept it, and in the majority, let's say, is just so far from being right, it's ridiculous. And the cost of kits, manufacturing kits, as you say, I mean, I just think back to when I was a kid, I had every England kit without fail.
40 quid a shirt when we were kids.
And it just, I got L's, the full kit for the World Cup, something that she'll have forever just because it was a World Cup and I thought we'd win it. But, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. I mean, say if I went and got myself and there was a shirt, you're looking at all for £200. It's just, absolute madness. But the common denominator in all that is the FA. They're an absolute joke.
Yeah, the FA are just money grabbers, aren't they? That's all they care about now. Football at the highest level is a business now. The FA are at the top of the game when it comes to fucking wanting it to be like a business. As for Nike, poor choice, poor fucking marketing, but it's got everyone talking, so the brand is getting its publicity, but it's just poor. You could do whatever you want to the shirt, but at the end of the day, it's the St George's Cross. You don't mess about with a club's crest or a club's flag, a country's flag or crest. You don't do it. They wouldn't do it to Germany. They wouldn't do it to Brazil. They wouldn't do it anywhere else. But the way the world is going now, everyone's trying to put their 2 pennies in. And unfortunately, like Planet Fitness, like Bud Light, Nike will probably feel some repercussions of that. At the end of the day, though, they could have gold plates, gold fucking ribbon through that kit, and they still wouldn't be able to play football properly, because under Gareth Southgate is pathetic. You've got some of the best players in the world, some of the very best players in the world, and this team is blessed with youth, where this is the team, this is the England team for the next decade. Yeah, this is how Germany used to play years ago when Germany were winning World Cups. They all played together. They was all young. It was the same team. This was France years ago. This was Brazil years ago. It's set up for us to emulate that. We've got youth with amazing players, and Gareth Southgate is running them into the ground. This holding midfield, everyone's a holding midfielder, needs to stop. That has to stop, right? Because you've got, and it's just so frustrating where you've got Harry Maguire sitting at the back all the time. You know, Conza, I think, is a real good centre half. You know, and you Ben Chilwell's playing, and you've got other good players that are coming through that are playing well this season, which was Sven-Goran Eriksson's downfall, whereas other players weren't playing well, but Gerrard had to play in that team, so he'd stick him left wing, that sort of thing. You know, that's going to be his downfall. I agree with some of the comments that Southgate should have walked. Well, you know, he's probably got us as far as he can. We had no business losing that final to Italy, no business whatsoever. We had no business going out of the World Cup the way we did as well, and it's a farce. It's pathetic. It needs to change. But yeah, the whole situation from the football on the pitch to what's gone on off it is fucking poor.
The only positive to add, sorry, Stephen, if we go into that, is the amount of memes that come off the back of it, because they have been very entertaining.
They've been brilliant as well.
And the Wales one was a particular highlight of mine. Yeah, so I did enjoy that.
Cool. This comment here from Chris: England used to be a team I was proud to support. Now I couldn't give a shit if they win or not. I know Ben will agree with me on this. I will follow the England cricket team. I'll get up at stupid o'clock in the morning to watch them out in India, out in Australia. I want the England cricket team to do well. The England football team, I support them in the Euros, in the World Cup. I want them to do well. I'm proud to be English. I want to see England do well. But you just know at the moment, going into these tournaments, you just feel like we're going to get so far and they're just going to get beat. There's no that hope as a kid, and you know, we're all very similar age here. That hope of we're going to the World Cup, we're going to do it this time. It's just not there anymore. It's just been sucked out of us by the FA, Southgate, the system, the yes men, the everything. It's just. It's very, very disappointing to be an England football fan at the moment, because you automatically feel like you're only ever going to get to the semis and that's it.
Yeah, well, you're sitting down on the head, mate. I think I'm just backing up what Jay said. I don't only think we've got the best starting 11 probably in world football. We've probably got the best squad and squad depth. The squad depth's ridiculous now. And for us I'm going into this tournament just thinking, we're just not going to win it because we've got Southgate in charge. And I just go through it now. Do you think if we had the likes of Pep, Arsene Wenger, any top coaches?
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Any of these top coaches that are out, do you think we wouldn't win these tournaments? Because I just can't. It's not with the team that we have and the players that we got at our disposal now. It's just ridiculous, the talent that we have in that team. But we know we're going to set up with 2 holding midfielders and it's going to be the same. And it's just... yeah, it's just frustrating more than anything else. Just frustrating.
Yeah, agreed.
I support England cricket, Bazball, big fan of that American Rover. People have died for the flag, definitely a bigger issue in my opinion. The whole country should be raging about it. This is the thing. And again, I'm not going to go too political with it because we're just a football podcast, you know, we can't change too much. But
we don't want to get in trouble.
All I would say is, I think Jay said it himself, other countries wouldn't have their national flag tampered with, and football clubs don't like it when their badges are tampered with, yet it's happened to England. So, as a Scotsman, I hope you don't win anything. Southgate, Maguire and Pickford, because you have the best squad in the world. So there we go. Me too, Stephen. Cricket is different somehow. The Barmy Arm was born out of gallows humour. I feel nothing for the football team. Who would the FA chooses next manager after Southgate. I mean, these are all topics
Eddie Howe,
perhaps for...
That'd be my top choice.
This is perhaps over the Euros, guys. I don't know what the plan is, but over the Euros, maybe we could do that Millwall podcast, slag off the England football team when they get beat by France in the semi-final or something. I don't know. We'll find a way of entertaining. That'd be a conversation for then. The last topic for us guys. Obviously, we've been. Jay hasn't muted himself. That could have been interesting. The last topic of conversation, obviously, as I said earlier, we're not going to have a live before West Brom next week. There will be something going out. We don't know who's coming back off international break of any injuries. There's been no news so far. But all being well, touch wood and all of that, would you make any changes, Ben, to the side that started at Ellen Road?
Probably not. Because I think it's going to be a fairly similar game in the sense of I'm expecting West Brom to have more possession than us. So I think it'll be a case of sit in, keep it tight for as long as we can, and then try and do what we did in the second half against Leeds and come into the game a bit more. So I think the way we're going to set up, the way we're going to play, I think the players that have been playing just suit that, and I'd be amazed if we do make any more changes, being perfectly honest, unless it's enforced by injury, of course, but I just don't see us making any changes. The only thing I maybe do, but then I'm thinking, where would I move Lenny, I was going to say maybe bring Norton Cuffy in, maybe just because we're at home, and try and be on the front foot a little bit more, but yeah, where does Lenny then go? So yeah, long-winded answer, sorry, mate. But yeah, no, I don't think we will make any changes.
Alex, I'll come to you in a minute, Jay. Alex, I remember getting up at 4 a.m. to watch Steve Armstrong bowl the first ball, the Ashes to first snip. Yes, I remember that. And the year after, I think Rory Burns getting bowled first ball. But Jay, back to Millwall. There's a couple of people. Start Denor, Casper in for Mitchell, Danny Mack in for Leonard. That's a really interesting shout. Would you make any changes to the side that started against Leeds?
No, I wouldn't, unless they're enforced. This is the team that's going to see the season out, ain't it? And unless players don't perform to what Harris wants. We saw Danny Mack make that mistake in that game, and Joe Bryan's come in, and Joe Bryan's played very well, so he'll keep his place. I don't expect any changes, because this isn't about tinkering and tampering. This formation, this team, it's worked. It's got us out of trouble. So he's going to stick with it. We know Harris will, until he's either forced to through injury, like Ben said, or players they drop off because of the tempo of that is the championship, you know. So yeah, it's going to be the same team that's set up against Leeds, and I don't think it'll be any changes for the rest of the season.
There's people, again, another one there, Leonard and Mitchell out, Mack and Denor in. I thought Leonard probably did have one of his weaker games against Leeds. No shame in that, up against the quality of players that he was up against. But I think he's been our best player for a long time, and he's going to play. I just can't see him being taken out of the side. The argument for Mitchell and Casper, I know Casper looked good against Leeds, but I think the boys have summed it up really, really well. It's tried and tested. It's got us to this point where we're a little bit not safe, but we're safer than other clubs around us with run-ins and points and things like that. But I can't imagine there to be too many changes. And finally, again, we don't know the team. We don't know any injuries. We don't really know what's going on. It's a bit too early yet. But can I have a prediction from you, please, Jay? Is he muted?
What's up, mate?
Can I get a prediction from you, please? He was muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted. Oh, mate. A real tough one, isn't it? A real tough one. As we've seen, we've predicted before, you know, with the likes of Southampton away and that, and Harris seems to do what Harris does. So I'm a gun to my head. I think 1-1.
Ben?
It's going to be boring, this. Yeah, 1-0. And I'd absolutely take your hand off for that.
Yeah.
Before I do mine, Chris, is there any way you can find out exactly how many tickets Millwall sell away before the game? No, they usually post on Millwall tickets sometimes, like the day before the game, how many's been sold, but they never they never actually
what
officially.
I've realised there, Chris, is if it's good numbers, they'll post them out, keep the updates normally a couple of days before. If it's shit, like it was at Blackburn, we realised when you'd arrived, Stephen, and I'm in my front room, and then we saw the numbers, didn't we?
Yeah, that was interesting, but we made the most of it. Danny Chapworth, who plays the youngsters, 3-0 Wall.
I'll take that.
He will. Last bit before I do, again, I keep saying this is another interesting, good comment for anyone that's going to Rotherham from Mike. By the way, free parking on Bank Holiday Monday in Rotherham. So anybody going and driving, please make the most of that, which is excellent. I am going to go with I can't not do it. I'm going to go 1-0 to Millwall. Obafemi, I'm sticking with him. As Andrew said here, we'll take a scrappy 1-0 win with a ball coming off of Obi-Wan's arse would do me, which is fantastic.
Obi-Wan.
Can we nick a 2-1 away win? Jay, I thought you'd like that. Chris, RE Millwall away tickets. I always ask the ticket office when I book mine. They always tell you. That's interesting. If you're interested, you can do that. West Bromwich Albion 0-0. Get no changes, but Casper's the only player that can find Obafemi. Interesting. And
I'll tell you what, actually, I just want to jump in on that because that's in my head. There was a stat that went out that, now, I love Billy Mitchell. I think he's brilliant, and I think he's been brilliant. But when Casper come on against Leeds, the transition wasn't that much different. Casper created, I think it was like 3 times the amount of passes, 3 times the amount of possession, or along them lines, where dwarfed Billy's game, whereas Billy does a lot more off the ball. So having Casper in there gives us a hell of a lot more on the ball, and it didn't look like it jeopardised what Harris was trying to do. So if that was a change that was going to be made, that would be the one that I would see. One of them central midfielders dropping out for Casper, and it probably would be Billy, but Harris will go with tried and tested. But that's the only one I'd be on the fence with if with a gun to my head.
Absolutely. And Mike here, Stephen, if I see you, ask me about working for Soccer Star and World Soccer magazines and playing for Spurs and Forest. Well, if you keep teasing us like that, you're going to have to do Who Are You, mate? So drop us a message and we'll get that sorted. Guys, thanks for watching us. There's been maybe not as much the numbers as we usually get on the lives. Obviously appreciate that there is no Millwall to talk about. We haven't been beat, we haven't won, or there's no, there's nothing to really get our teeth into. So thank you very much for spending a Sunday night with us. Any final words from you, Ben?
No, mate. Just to add to what you said earlier, though, rallying cry, certainly for those 2 away games, big effort needed, big numbers if we can. I think they're the 2 real important ones. Hopefully we haven't lost any momentum with the international break. I think, as we all said, if we could get 5 points out of the next 3 games, I think I'd be delighted if we can avoid defeat with West Brom and go into, obviously, the 2 big games. With a little bit of confidence, then I think that'll stand us in good stead. But biggest thing for me is let's try and get as many people up to Rotherham and Huddersfield as possible.
Jay?
What Ben said.
Love exactly that.
What else needs to be said? Love
that. London Lion, less people because you keep changing the times. It's not so much that I think the international break has affected that. The time change. Usually we do 8 o'clock on a Friday, 9 o'clock on a Sunday. We did change it slightly this weekend, obviously with the international break and stuff, but we will try to keep it as I say, 8 o'clock on a Friday, 9 o'clock on a Sunday. Mike is Teddy Sheringham. If it is, that'd be very interesting if he wants to come and do Who Are You? All the guys that are putting in comments, thank you very much. Appreciate it. If any of you guys are going to Rotherham, you can buy me a hot dog. Lil Lion Blue's doing my job for me again. Press the like, Stephen. Absolutely. If you could press the like and subscribe button, that would be very much appreciated. One more final thing for me, for the guys that are still here before I close this one off. I am doing a raffle for Byron Webster's shirt that he wore in Tony Craig's testimonial. All the funds are going to Mind. Unfortunately, I don't actually have it. Oh, no, I do. 1 second. You guys should still be able to hear me. All the funds are going to Mind charity, and the auction runs until just before the final game of the home game of the season. For those of you who've not seen it, signed at the front and the back by Byron himself. The link will go in the description if you guys fancy buying a raffle ticket. It's £5 a go. As always, follow us across all of the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All the support on the channel is muchly appreciated. We will see you in the week for a pre-record at West Brom for a massive home game, and hopefully it will be the first game of this 8 that sees us safe and playing Championship football next season. But for now,